Californians, I think, African American writings are very, very important. They are important because, this is part of a heritage and a culture that we need to cherish and recognize. The African Americans in California, their contribution, which has been generally ignored, if I may, and in any way, kind of unknown to people. Whereas, California is such a diverse state, and yet one of the most seminal voices who've lived here, contributed, are not heard about, not recognized. My decisions as to what to include in the anthology really started off, I started off with no particular idea, in mind. Defining as to what I have to find or what I'm looking for. But it kind of grew, it kind of took on a life of itself as I moved through the findings of their writings. And I found a very interesting insights into lived reality, not so much as, California being this dream reality. Yes, people came to this state to kind of pursue dreams. I'm not saying all their dreams failed, but some did fail. And that lived reality is what I wanted to show of the African Americans who came, who lived, who wrote, who loved and died, or maybe even moved on. Well, of the pieces that I have, excerpted, absolutely. That is one of my intentions, that if one reads the excerpt, right, they will be interested, excited to go out and find out, what more is out there, in the whole piece or the whole novel. Well, two of them come to mind, absolutely. One is Wallace Thurman's Blacker the Berry. I've had, emails sent to me personally by people who have read my book, who have written to me saying that, having read this piece, we went out and read the whole novel. In fact, there's a little comment on Amazon that talks about that. Okay. The other is Deborah Major, who was our poet laureate, San Francisco poet laureate from 2002 for 3 years. So one of her novels that I had a short excerpt from, Brown Glass Window, that talks about, it is narrated in the voice of a 200-year-old woman, a slave, and that moves through another elderly woman, Victoria, onto, kind of today's world, in the year 2000. And this little piece is fascinating, how it moves, this voice narration that moves through 3 generations. Well, African American life in California in the 19th century, what I found out in my research and things that came up in the writings, was that they had to face a lot of brutal racism, if I may. I'm using that, the way they, racism that they had to face in everyday life, small dealings, kind of going to a store, or, they had a shop, people came, and the way they reacted, etc. I think that stood out to me, although there are, there were stories of achievements, no doubt. The black man had achieved a lot. And yet, sporadically, or, intermittently, it came out that they did have to face racism as they went through life. And that is what I thought, their writing kind of covered the pain, should I say, sometimes, but the pain was there in the laughter, meaning their achievements. Yes, they did. They did achieve. and yet it remained all along. Well, to give an example of this fact and fiction, coming together, or the mix-up of this, I think an ideal example in my book is James Beckwourth's Life and Adventures of James Beckwourth, as he had related it to Thomas Bonner. And so there are, different layers by which this is constituted. One was, of course, Beckwourth's rendering, what had Bonner taken from him, and what, comes across to us in the form of a book. And I think it's fascinating to see this movement of fact and fiction, myth and reality, this superhuman hero. And yet, what of it is truth? What of it is lies? But, looking at it from a very postmodern context today, it's being questioned. What are truths and what's a lie in any autobiography? I think, what I would like to say is that my book is a literary anthology. This is just a gateway. I'm not talking about my book so much, but what you could read beyond this is my message, or this comes to my mind, is that read literature. That's the beckoning, that's the call, that those writings will, emote to you, and that connection is necessary. That is the pathway that will lead you to know California.